Okay. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. I'm very excited to start and kick off our 2022 annual awards ceremony. We're here today to recognize the hard work of so many of our advocates, legislators, and community members that make mental health policy in Connecticut better. I want to start by giving Holly Hackett the opportunity to read a message from one of our members who could not be here today, but just wishes to send her goodwill.
Thank you, Jordan. So we received some messages from Brenda Kingsley. She is a longtime member, and she wanted to just make sure everyone knew that the reason she hasn't been with us is because she had 2 cancer surgeries. And with the second surgery, they were able to take out all of the cancer. She is currently undergoing 6 weeks of radiation. So she will not be able to join us for quite a while, but she just wanted to let us know that she's still thinking of us and she's sorry she won't be able to be with us for a while. And if anyone would like to send her a card or anything like that, she absolutely would love to give out her address. And you can email me and I will get that to you guys.
Thank you, Holly. And Brenda, we're wishing you a speedy recovery. Okay. So I'd like to just start by giving the floor to Paul Acker, our former co-chair, to give us opening remarks. And Paul, I will make sure you're spotlighted and everyone can see you.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. It's great to be back and see all the old people here as we all tend to age every year this event happens. I've been around Keep the Promise for well over a decade, and the relationships that you build over the time are definitely treasured. It was a little strange to have Jordan and Holly reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you want to do the opening remarks?" And it's like, I'm at the Housing Collective now. I'm working at the intersection of housing and mental health. And so, but it was so nice to come back. And you're right, Jordan, this is our time to kind of look back and celebrate the advocates who stood up and made an impact. And Keep the Promise is one of those great vehicles where, our goal is to not have people speak for us, but to facilitate us speaking for ourselves, to make differences in the system. And, I could not be more proud of the job that Jordan and Holly have done to help facilitate that. I hope everyone here appreciates the hard work and the effort that they put in to make this all, seamless and as accessible as possible for people. And so, let's begin 2022 ceremony by starting to celebrate the work that we all did in moving our agenda forward. So with that, I'll turn it back to Jordan.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I'm just, forgive me here, I'm also doing the tech. So I'm going to be adding spotlights and might be a little slow. Also, it helps if you try to not speak super fast for our interpreters' sake. And I just want to say thank you to all of them for helping us out with this today. So we're going to get started with the awards. We'll get right into it. And first, presenting one of 2 Legislative Leadership Awards is Kathy Flaherty. The Legislative Leadership Awards are an acknowledgement and recognition of legislators who worked very hard and fought for policies that have improved mental health justice and access to services, and we want to recognize them. So, Kathy, take it away.
Thank you, Jordan. The first KTP Legislative Advocacy Leadership Award for the Senate goes to Senator Heather Summers. Senator Summers represents the 18th district, which is the far southeastern corner of Connecticut. And the towns are Griswold, Groton, North Stonington, Plainfield, Preston, Sterling, Stonington, and Voluntown. I just think it's important to recognize that people who are mental health advocates come from every one of Connecticut's 169 cities and towns. And I think Eastern Connecticut doesn't always get the credit it deserves. So I wanted to take the time to list those towns out. Senator Summers is a ranking member of the Public Health Committee, and she's one of the people of the bipartisan coalition, really, who took leadership on legislative response to the abuse situation at Whiting Forensic Hospital. She was part of a group of legislators who led to the passage of Public Act 18-86, which changed some definitions and some requirements regarding reporting of patient abuse and neglect, and created the CBH and Whiting Task Force, which Paul served on, for those who don't remember. That task force issued a report, and this past session, the legislature introduced Senate Bill 450, which eventually became Public Act 2245. I don't know who has a dog barking, but if they keep themselves, that would be great. But it is the start of the change that our clients need. And I appreciate Senator Summers' leadership. My recollection of the debate was that it was really very much a joint bringing out of those bills. And whereas you usually have the majority party senator doing a lot of the talking, and people from the ranking party asking questions and attacking it, it was really a shared responsibility of bringing that bill forward. And one of the things that I found particularly gratifying is that the bill passed both chambers unanimously. Everyone present voted yes. And it was great to see that board light up green. I look forward to working with folks to take the next steps in the reform that we need. So rest assured, Senator Summers knows I will be reaching out to her. But I am very honored to be able to present the award to Senator Summers this morning. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Kathy. And Senator Summers, if you're here, I'm not able to find your name when I'm searching it in the chat. So if you want to just sort of announce yourself and say any words. She may have had some trouble getting on, but we'll make sure to talk to her later, and I'll keep monitoring to see if she is able to make it. Okay, thank you, Kathy. So for our next award, it's another Legislative Leadership Award, and I want to invite our KTP co-chair, Marcia DeFore, to present this award.
Thank you, Jordan. So I don't know about all of you, but I've become extremely disturbed by the polarization that I see in American politics. It really seems impossible to get anything done on issues because the parties who represent us seem to be miles apart and unwilling to work together to find common ground. It takes real courage and it takes commitment to walk across the aisle, and it requires much more listening and less vilifying rhetoric. Mike D'Amico is a legislator who we have found to be responsive to our calls, really able to listen and willing to listen. He asks questions to make sure that he understands our issues. He advocates with persistence, and he keeps us in the loop as things are moving forward or getting stuck, with opportunities to try to work together with him to move things forward. So this year we asked him to help us with new statutory language to clarify the role of catchment area councils and regional behavioral health action organizations. This was an area where we have a voice and where we felt that our voice might be at risk. We didn't get everything that we wanted out of this bill, but we did have someone who we knew was going to bat for us throughout the entire process. And as a result, we were able to keep statutory language that acknowledges the role of people in recovery as advocates for quality mental health and addiction services in their communities. So it's my honor to honor legislator Representative Mike D'Amico today with the 2022 Legislative Leadership Award for his support on this and many other important issues to us. So I see Mike is here, so I'm hoping that Mike will have a few words for us.
Thank you very much, Marcia, and Jordan and everyone else, but particularly Marcia. Thank you for those kind words. Can everyone hear me okay? My neighbors decided that today was the day to do leaf blowing, so there might be a little noise in the background, but as long as I can be heard, that's great. So again, Marcia, thank you for those kind words, and I did want to acknowledge a couple of things that you said. I want everyone to know that the legislators take seriously the suggestions and the testimony that is presented during the legislative public hearing process, and I in particular take that testimony seriously. So I don't do anything really spectacular, as Marcia knows, but I listen. I listen in private conversations, and I certainly read all the written testimony that's submitted to us on various bills, but particularly in the Public Health Committee, which is what this group is concerned about for the most part. And you know, when I see objections to legislation that's being proposed by people who are experts because of their lived experience, I take that very seriously, and I bring it to the attention of the leadership of the committee and to the leadership of the House, of which I'm a member, and try to make sure that the viewpoint, even though it might be a conflicting viewpoint or an opposite viewpoint, is taken into consideration. So that's what I've done. I did that in particular on the bill that Marcia was referring to this year, but I've done that in the past on other legislation as well. So I just want everyone to know that your input is taken seriously, and so please keep testifying both in person and in writing to the various committees, particularly the Public Health Committee, because we need to hear from you. So I was really pleased to be able to advocate for that legislation, for changes in that legislation this year, and I will continue to do so. I really appreciate. I am so honored and humbled by your wanting to give me this award, and I really makes me feel good, and it makes me feel good for all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Representative D'Amico. And I just want to show you the plaque, which we will schedule it to. Oh, if only Zoom would let me show you. I wanted to show you the plaque, which, well, you'll definitely see it later. I apologize for that, but I will read it off. Legislative Leadership Award for Representative Mike D'Amico. It says, in recognition of your continued leadership around mental health, substance use, and disability issues, and the passage of bills which advanced health equity and improved access to services. So thank you.
I'm sorry, Jordan, can you spotlight, please, Jessica?
Yes,
Yeah,
for
thank you.
some reason the spotlight was removed, but I will replace those. Spotlights. There we go. Sorry about that. And the next award that we will be presenting is the Individual Advocacy Award. And I'm again going to invite Kathy Flaherty to present that award.
Thank you, Jordan. It is a pleasure and an honor to be able to present this award to someone we all know who's been a member of KTP for quite a while, who we are honored to not only call a KTP member, but also a friend, and that's Karen Healy. What I've really so enjoyed seeing and watching over time is how Karen became so much more confident in her advocacy. Not that she ever lacked confidence. And she's someone who has always reached out to her state senator, her state representative, has good relationships with them. But this year started testifying on things that were not just the Demas budget, and shared more of her story about her experience with having to deal with problems with Husky. And when you lose a job and then you go on a spend down. And I think there's a lot of people who don't understand how these systems work unless they have firsthand lived experience of it. And Karen's willingness to share hers in order to help not only herself, but also others. It makes it a pleasure and an honor to present her this award. Congratulations, Karen.
Karen, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I really appreciate everybody acknowledging all my work that I do this year and other years for the KTP. I just don't do it for myself. I do for others who cannot speak up for themselves with physical, mental, or other disabilities, like some people in the hospital in Middletown cannot speak up and have people help them, but I do it for both. It helped me in my journey in my recovery to be able to speak up to the legislator people and other organizations that I've been got on councils for in the state of Connecticut. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kathy, for giving me, and Jordan for giving me this award this year. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Karen, so much for your tireless advocacy. I mean, it's Kathy's completely right. It's been amazing to see what you've done this past year. And just so everyone knows, you know, this is my job partially to go and testify on bills sometimes when there is something that concerns mental health. Karen testified nearly as many times as I did last session. And that to me just speaks volumes to how dedicated she is to making this world a better place for people with mental health conditions. So Karen, I'm looking forward to seeing you and delivering your Individual Advocacy Award. It says, in recognition of your outstanding growth and advocacy, which helped advance mental health and disability justice. Thank you. So next up, I will actually be presenting the next award. Oh, sorry. Holly just let me know that Senator Summers just arrived. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to say some words about her award, which I know she missed. Kathy, would you want to give a brief recap?
Thanks so much, Jordan. Senator Summers, trust me, I said all awesome things about you and listed the towns that are in your district because I think it's really important that Eastern Connecticut gets the credit it deserves. And thank you for your leadership and really working together on a bipartisan basis on behalf of some of the most marginalized people in our state. You kept dedicated attention on this issue dating back to 2017. And I think Senate Bill 450, now Public Act 2245, represents a first step forward on the path to justice for our folks. So thanks again.
Well, thank you. And thank you for that warm welcome. I am honored and surprised to receive this award. It is really humbling, and I want to say, I don't want to get upset, but very truly meaningful. When I first learned about the atrocities at Whiting Forensic it was something for me that once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. And I was determined to force a public hearing to try to bring those to justice who had partaken in these acts that are just unconscionable, and then learning more about conditions and the lives of folks living in our facilities there. It was something that still to this day almost haunts me, and I am determined to continue to push for reforms, to push to make sure that people that are at our state mental hospitals have a life that is meaningful, like they deserve. These are the most marginalized, vulnerable population that we have here in the state of Connecticut. And it is our duty, really, I believe, as government, as humans, to treat them with the kindness, with opportunity, with a life that's worth living. You know, these people have issues that are diseases. They are, you know, some have had pasts that are violent, but that is because of the conditions that they suffer from. And I am still committed to doing more and more. I know SB 450, thank you, Kathy, because without your help, that would have died. It almost died a quick death in the Senate, as you know, and was not going to get called. But we pushed together. It's a fine balance between victims' rights and the lives of those who are in our system. And I am looking forward to this working group that we're supposed to be setting up, and I am going to be shepherding people to be appointed to these task force, because as you know, the legislature likes to set a task force and never make the appointment, so nothing happens. But to really look at the PSRB and is it something that we should still have in the state of Connecticut, how it can be altered. But I do think that 450 made some very intentional changes that are a good first step into reforming the way that we treat people with severe mental illness and those who are incarcerated because of mental illness. So I'm honored to have this award. It's very, very meaningful for me. And I just thank you. And I look forward to working with all of you to continue this promise.
Thank you, Senator Summers. And I would show you the plaque, but Zoom won't let me. But it says Legislative Leadership Award, Senator Heather Summers, in recognition of your continued leadership around mental health, substance use, and disability issues, and the passage of bills which advanced health equity and improved access to services. So thank you so much for your work. And
thank you. I look forward to getting that. And I will hang that proudly in my office where you all can come visit and see it. So thank you. And I do apologize for being late. I had to meet Senator Blumenthal on an issue we have in Groton for another sect of vulnerable people. So I do apologize for not being right on time.
No worries. Absolutely no worries. And thank you for you know, all the work that you do, and thank you for being here. Okay, so our next award is for the Advocacy Leadership Award. And this award is really to recognize the work of people who have taken leadership and inspired others to be the best advocates that they can be. And I will be presenting this award today to Michael Doyle. So I'm happy to present the Advocacy Leadership Award to Michael Doyle. The Advocacy Leadership Award is for someone who shows strong leadership, inspiring and helping others to be the best advocates they can be. I'm going to read his nomination for this award, which I think makes it really obvious why Mike deserves this award. Michael Doyle has worked at Reliance Health since 2016 and is the director of Penobscot Place, a first of its kind harm reduction day program for individuals with severe and persistent mental health concerns, as well as co-occurring substance and or alcohol use concerns. The Recovery Coach program, which utilizes a community-based model as opposed to traditional hospital and ER-based models, and Early Screening and Intervention program, which offers a unique opportunity for social service agencies to work with state prosecutors in southeastern Connecticut to keep people out of prison and instead get them the help they need. Since day one, Mike has been a strong advocate for the people he serves and the staff who work for the agency. He's been involved with Keep the Promise for several years. Mike helps educate staff and members on the importance of advocacy, testimony, legislative sessions, and leadership. Prior to each legislative session, Mike holds classes to teach people to provide written or in-person testimony. The COVID-19 pandemic and restrictions put into place during this time didn't stall Mike's goals to be an advocate and provide training to those who wish to do the same. He provided instruction and on virtual testimony over the past few sessions as in-person testimony was not possible. He provided instruction and encouragement to those of us who are terrified of this process, yet want to be involved. His clear and motivating guidance to individuals gives them the toolkit needed to develop their own testimony with personal stories attached. Most of all, he equips people with the confidence needed to stand before legislators to advocate for smart policy reforms and system change to benefit those impacted by mental health conditions. He stood before appropriations, the finance review, and bonding committees to advocate for the preservation and increasing of funding for mental health and addiction services. Mike has even gone to Washington, D.C. during Hill Day 2019 to personally meet with Congressman Joe Courtney to advocate for additional resources to fight the opioid pandemic. From this, Reliance Health was able to secure further funding for 2 additional recovery coaches to cover a much greater swath of Eastern Connecticut. So Mike, I'm going to give you the spotlight if you'd like to say anything.
Wow. Thank you, Jordan, and thank you for that amazing, nomination there. And this is a really special award for me. I've taken the Keep the Promise Legislative Advocacy Coalition under. Holds a very special place in my heart here. And I'd love to thank Reliance Health, the organization that I work for the opportunity and the understanding for how important the advocacy for this is, as well as the support and allowing me the time to do these things outside of the normal course of the day. It's amazing too, because this is a very forward thinking and a very progressive agency. There's advocacy throughout the agency. It doesn't stop with me and my program and the people that we work with. All of these people behind me have all done something with Keep the Promise or with legislative advocacy. I did like the description as being a motivated employee. I think that might be code for something else. But I'd like to thank Elisa for that wonderful nomination, and our leadership team here, Mike, Carey, and all the others involved with the leadership team, for being very forward-thinking and open-minded, and recognizing an idea and something that needed to happen here in Eastern Connecticut, as well as my own staff that works for me, Andy, Deanna, Ray, Tiana, and Autumn. They allow me to do, because they're so good at what they do, it frees me up to do a few more things outside of the box and help us to keep moving forward and keep meeting the people where they're at and helping them to maintain, helping us to maintain the funding and increase and grow our funding here too. I'd like to thank some of our local legislators, and if I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but Senator Austin, Senator Summers, Representative Riley, Representative Ryan, they've all been champions for mental health and for addiction here. As Elisa mentioned in the nomination, the bulk of the people that I work with suffer with co-occurring mental health and addiction. So for them to be able to understand the need and the importance for that and for growth in the area and to take a different approach to things has been huge for this area. I'd also like to thank you, Congressman Courtney's office. I can't say enough how tirelessly they worked to help us get to obtain the funding to expand our recovery coach program to 2 additional. We're now able to cover all of Eastern Connecticut, not just Norwich anymore. And it's amazing, and I'm looking forward to be able to do that. And I think they're all going to kind of smile and laugh a little bit that we're not done growing yet. We're going to keep moving forward and try to get more more funding so that we can help more people. And the last people that I really want to thank in this are the people that I work with. Those that are struggling with or suffering with or are dealing with mental health and or addiction every single day. It takes a lot of guts to get up and stand in front of appropriations committee or the finance committee, or even to sit in front of a camera and give testimony, or even to write testimony to set it up there. It's a very brave thing, and I believe the key to all of that is the willingness to do it. I'm but one person that is able to, I have the absolute privilege to be able to point people in the right direction. But it's the willingness that they have that makes it happen. They say in addiction, acceptance is the answer, but willingness is the key. And it's the same across the board with this. They have to have, the people that I work with have to have the willingness to get up there and do that. And without that, none of this is possible. So thank you again, Jordan, and keep the promise for this very, very special award. I'm very honored to have this, and thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I do want to read off your award. It's the Advocacy Leadership Award, again, in recognition of your stellar leadership by engaging and organizing persons with mental health conditions in legislative advocacy. And while I have you guys there, I'm also going to present the Clubhouse of the Year Award, which this year is going to Teamworks. And I'm just realizing I forgot to script anything out, but I think that's okay, because I can certainly speak to what Teamworks has done this year. Between talking with Sarah Lombardo and Latasha Maddox, and clearly the work that Mike has done, and the members of Teamworks, first and foremost, have really gone above and beyond in submitting testimony this year. There was even sort of a concern about privacy and learning how to do testimony anonymously, and they really advocated to be able to do that. And they made their voice heard loud and clear at the legislature. So I wanted to also give this award for Teamworks in recognition of your many years of outstanding commitment and dedication to mental health, substance use, and disability advocacy in Connecticut.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Court Murphy. I'm the director of Teamworks, and I am not hard to follow Mike Doyle. Come on. But I just want to say thank you for the award. Appreciate it immensely. And all the credit goes to both the team and the membership that really take the time to write these testimonies and get up and speak in front of legislation. It's very difficult. So thank you so much. Appreciate the award.
Thank you so much, Court. And thank you everyone at Teamworks. Did some fantastic advocacy this year. So now I think our schedule is going to get a little rearranged, which was my bad. But I'm also going to present the Mental Health in the Media Award at this time. And so I just want to start by saying that, the winners of this award have truly put together such an important piece. I think it's really common that we as mental health advocates will hear an issue and will sort of immediately recognize that that's something that happens within our mental health system. But it doesn't always reach the general public. So the Mental Health in the Media Award is really about recognizing exceptional coverage of mental health and the policies behind it that brings awareness to mental health beyond just a surface level. This year, Thea DiGiamarino, I'm so sorry, Thea DiGiamarino and Ronald DeLucia did just that. They produced a series for NBC Connecticut called Recovery, Conversations on Mental Health, which many of you may have seen, which explored different aspects of our mental health system head on, including our psychiatric hospital system in one episode. They gave our friend and a strong advocate and KTP member, Karen Healy, the space to tell her story and talk about her own experience with the mental health system. And together, all three of them spread a very effective message to the public, many of whom, probably didn't even know that it was possible to end up in a psychiatric hospital for decades at a time. And, I think they really masterfully brought awareness to that issue. Thea and Ronald put this series together so perfectly. And there were also appearances from other friends of ours, such as Tom Burr from NAMI and Demas Commissioner Nancy Navarrete, woven into this episode, which just doubled down on the message. Overall, this is just a wonderful and important piece. So I'm really grateful for everyone who was involved in this. And I'm glad to be able to present this award to NBC Connecticut, as well as Karen Healy, who I'm lucky to consider a friend. If you read our newsletters, especially during the legislative session, you'd also know that Karen has been on an advocacy and media tear this past year. And this is really a perfect example of her advocacy. So I would like to play the episode now and then give Thea and Ronald and Karen the chance to speak about what this series meant. So give me one moment and I will put that on the screen, and I have to stop recording for this part.
Differently. And that's what the whole concept was about. Being recorded. So we reached out, and everyone at KTP was so helpful, not only in sharing their stories, which Karen, I tell her every time I talk to her that it was really special for us to be able to share that story. And I saw Thomas is on this call, and he also let us follow him around with cameras and share some very personal information that is in a different episode of the series. So thank you for that. But the idea was just to spend real time on it. And it was a real gift to hear all these stories and talk to everyone in KTP who also connected us with some of the other groups we worked with for the series. And as Jordan mentioned, when you work or have lived experience in the mental health space, there's a lot of shared experiences that the general public doesn't necessarily know about. And we wanted to shed a little bit of light on that. And everyone I talked to, we found parallels and stories and parallels in the fact that there's so many things that still don't work and so many things that do work. And I know we only scratched the surface of some of the amazing work that's being done in Connecticut, but I hope it was a visual scratch, and I hope it gets people thinking. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you so much for the work that you all do, and thank you for letting us in and letting us share a piece of that story. And finally, if you are interested in watching the series and need captions, there is a version on the NBC Connecticut YouTube page that's fully has closed captions for anybody that needs it. I know the website, we had a bit of a technical issue and I don't think it ever got fixed, but we do have captions available for anyone who wants them. So I just wanted to say that as well. Oh, and a shout out to the team at NBC Connecticut. I don't think my news director made it today, Tracy Davis, but talking again about how we usually have a minute and a half of time, they gave us basically unlimited space to do this series and tell this story, which is not what we typically get. So huge thanks to her, to Lorraine Rowe, who is the special projects EP over at NBC Connecticut, who was brand new when we started the series and literally did not know me and did not know Ron, and said, I have no idea how you're doing this. I don't understand the concept, but I trust that you're going to do a great job. And then she let us do it. So if you ever run into Lorraine, she's fantastic. And also to Brad Luck, who is no longer at NBC Connecticut, but he was the digital lead that also gave us a lot of the support to get that off the ground. So thank you to everyone here, and thank you to the team at NBC Connecticut. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you so much, Thea. And I'm sorry for butchering your name earlier. So I will read the award off. Mental Health in the Media Award, NBC Connecticut, in recognition of Recovery, Conversations on Mental Health, which brought awareness about the issues facing people with mental health conditions. And Karen, if you wanted to add anything to that, what it was like to be involved with that series, I'll give you the space to do so.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Thea, and thank you, Ron, and everybody else who worked on this project with me. My goal in my life was to help teach, reach out to somebody who would never go into the programs and what I went through. And by me sharing my story, it makes me realize that people are everybody should not be labeled, and people are human beings. I think my story was a good story because where I came from and where I am now. I always tell people, don't give up. Like my team tells me, you can do things that you don't even give yourself credit to do. And Thea, thank you so much for working with me on this. I appreciate NBC News doing all this. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. And the award, again, Mental Health in the Media Award, Karen Healy, in recognition of your advocacy through media to bring awareness about the issues facing people with mental health conditions. Okay. Next up is one of two policy leadership awards. And I'm going to give Holly Hackett the floor to present this award. Take it away, Holly.
Jordan. Thank you. I am very honored to be able to present the Policy Leadership Award to Sheldon Taubman. Sheldon is one of the people that is responsible for the Medicaid or Husky system as we know it today in Connecticut. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but here in Connecticut, people in other states say that our Husky program is the gold standard. I've heard that from a lot of other people throughout my advocacy journeys. I personally have known Sheldon for about 4.5, 5 years. I just am honored to know him. He is a very fierce advocate. I have run into him at many events, a lot of town halls, and one of the most things that struck me the most was at one particular town hall. He asked a question and he was able to pull out of a legislator that, yes, he was correct. The first cut that they do make is to elderly and disabled services. It was because, although it was not the morally easy thing to do, it was the politically easy thing to do because the other groups have lobbyists with much louder voices. I knew it was him, but I hadn't seen particularly who the question came from, but I had later on sent an email to ask him if it was him, and yes, it was, of course. So you guys can all imagine how excited I was when I heard that Sheldon was coming to Disability Rights Connecticut, or DRCT. I knew he had found the perfect place to help those of us with disabilities the most. Sheldon has so much knowledge. He is able to pass it on to those of us and teach us all. He tirelessly educates advocates on the intricacies of Medicaid or Husky here in Connecticut. It is so much easier for me, particularly, to understand how to help our members because of the information Sheldon has given to KTP. The education we have received at KTP from Sheldon, we will use moving forward. Sheldon does not mince words, and some people may not like that about him, but I do. I like a person who gets right to the point. It is his ability to educate not only advocates, but legislators as well, that is making us all better, making us make better decisions for the mental health, substance use, and disability communities. Sheldon is one of the greatest teachers for advocates today, and I hope he imparts his vast wisdom to a whole lot of us before he chooses to retire again. Sheldon, I am so honored to give you this award, and I hope you continue for many, 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 many years, because I don't know what advocacy education would look like without you here in Connecticut.
Wow. Thank you, Holly. Very, very Very sweet. Thank you for the kind words. Congratulations to all the other awardees. And it really is an honor to get this award, especially along with other folks who have lived experience. Being an advocate, I'm a professional advocate, right? So, I go up to the legislature, I testify all the time, but it's generally not about me and not about my life, right? I'm speaking on behalf of other people and their lives. But it's such a privilege to work alongside advocates who also, they're doing that, but they also have lived experience. People like Karen. I mean, it was such a joy working with Karen this year. It's hard for me as a professional advocate, it's hard for me sometimes to appreciate how difficult it is to do public speaking in general, but then think about how difficult it is to do public speaking about your personal life and the trials and tribulations you've had. And I'm going to be giving an award to somebody else shortly about that. But given those challenges, I really respect the other awardees more than me who have to do that and have that obstacle and yet rise to the occasion. The other thing is, as an advocate, working with people with lived experience when they advocate, is that there's a greater, I think legislators have a harder time disregarding what they say. And Mike D'Amico, Representative D'Amico said earlier that he always listens to and reads all the testimony of everybody, whatever they say. And I'm sure that's true. And I'm going to say most legislators are like that too, but some may not be. And so it is such a challenge again, and it is so great to have folks like you with me when we advocate in the public legislature and try to educate folks about how a bill will hurt or help somebody. I can't thank you all enough, and thank you very much for the award, and thank you, Holly, for your kind words.
Thank you, Sheldon. And I'll show you, I figured it out. Someone in the chat suggested that I just hold it in front of me and then you can see it. So it's the Policy Leadership Award for Sheldon Taubman in recognition of your focused and effective leadership and education efforts in mental health policy and disability policy. Thank you. So our next award is the second of two Policy Leadership Awards. And bear with me as I'm unspotlighting people, but I would like to invite Paul Acker to present this award.
Great, thank you, Jordan. So our leadership award goes to Kathy Flaherty, who took on the Herculean task of making sure that the Whiting Task Force got a report done, that it got a hearing, that it got to the Senate and through the House to become a bill, to become a public act. Kathy worked tirelessly, as Heather had said earlier, Heather Summers had said earlier, helping push the agenda forward, calling out the House and the Senate leaders to get it moving. And her greatest task, though, at least in my mind, was when the public hearing came on the bill that was trying to incorporate what the task force had represented. Kathy got the voices of the people in Whiting to be heard. I don't know the final number, but it was the vast majority of the people that spoke in my recollection. And I know Kathy will be the first one to tell you that what we've achieved so far isn't even the end of the beginning. We have such a long way to go with this. And so we know that it will go forward and it will get pushed forward with Kathy Flaherty there. So it's my deep honor to present my friend, my colleague, and my former co-chair, Kathy Flaherty, with this award.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, KTP. It is really hard to come up with words, but I want to address a couple things and one thing that I heard Sheldon say. I'm also a professional advocate. I'm an attorney by training. I'm good with public speaking, at least most of the time. I'm good with being zealous and paying attention to an issue. But there was a time when I was a new Keep the Promise member, and this was back in the late 90s or maybe early 2000s. And I signed up for the first time to testify at a public hearing. I've never been more nervous. I literally read my testimony, like all the things we tell you at the trainings not to do. And the bell rang, and I got so flustered that I lost my place. And I left that hearing telling my predecessor, Jan Van Tassel, I'm never doing this again. Don't ask me to do it because I'm going to say no. But then history and life has a funny way of taking that decision out of your hands. I'll be able to talk more for the next award, but giving me the award for getting people to testify is actually not really an award I deserve. I will take credit for the op-ed that finally got the people appointed to the task force. I will take credit for my own testimony and for providing people information so that they could testify. But I'll be honest, the credit for getting so many people to testify at that hearing, due credit to the advocacy staff at Whiting Forensic Hospital and to Demas and the Public Health Committee for making it possible for people to testify. I'll tell you more about that in a couple minutes, but I just wanted to say that. I have so appreciated being part of Keep the Promise. I think one of the harder things I had to do after COVID was step down from leadership. And one of the most gratifying things has been to see how a new generation of people that incorporated some of the old generation of people have really moved KTP forward in a really exciting direction, and seeing all the work that we collectively do. The power of KTP is in all of you. It is not, your leadership supports you, but you all collectively are the power of KTP. And that is why it is such a complete honor to get this award from you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And I'll read off the award again. It's the Policy Leadership Award for Kathy Flaherty, in recognition of your focused and effective leadership and grassroots policy work for people with mental health conditions and disabilities. So Kathy, I think, you have just done a tremendous job, and you've been a role model for so many of us, and don't short yourself there. You got to give yourself credit for that. And that is why you deserve this award. The next two awards actually have to do with what Kathy and Sheldon had both been talking about, which is sort of the amount of courage it takes to go up and speak and not only make your story heard, but use it to make change and have a really lasting impact on public policy through using your voice. And so I'm going to first invite Sheldon up to present the Martha Healy Courage Award. And let me spotlight you, Sheldon. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a tale of two Mikes, Mike D'Amico and Mike Doyle. Mike D'Amico saying, "Oh, I listened to all the testimony from everybody," and Mike Doyle saying, "Yeah, but it's not so easy. It's a challenge." It's a pleasure to give the award to Diane Smith, who stepped forward to do that for the first time this year. And something she was outside of her comfort zone, but she came to testify in support of a bill which would increase eligibility under the MedConnect program. That's the program, the Medicaid program for people who are disabled but working. And in addition to the issues with MedConnect, there's also an issue that came up this year where advocates, including KTP, were pushing to increase the income limits and asset limits for the Husky C program for disabled and elderly people who are not working, basically. So Diane stepped forward and came in to testify with her story about this program, the MedConnect program, how important it's been to her, and why the legislature should act to do something about certain limits in that program. So, as I said, and we've all said, it's a challenge to come up and speak publicly if you've never done it before, and particularly talk about your personal situation. But I wanted to read from the introduction of Diane's testimony before the Human Services Committee. It reads, "My name is Diane Smith. I am 52 years old, and I am the first person in several generations of my family to have not committed suicide." So, I mean, you could hear a pin drop, and people at this meeting, like, you're sort of familiar with this, or maybe you have personal experience, but still think about the power of that statement to a group of legislators. She then went on to say that with 3 hospitalizations and decades of treatment over the last 40 years, I battled my chronic depression every day. So obviously there was rapt attention at that point. And then she went on to explain how this MedConnect program, which she's been on since 2019, has had a, quote, immensely positive impact on my life. MedConnect allows me to work full-time as a special education teacher for students with emotional and/or cognitive disabilities in an approved special education program that is both flexible and understanding of my situation. Working as a special education teacher for students with emotional disabilities allows me to give back, et cetera, et cetera. So it was an extraordinarily powerful statement. And by the way, the Human Services Committee didn't pass the legislature, but it passed out of the committee, just as Diane had testified in support of. So I was incredibly impressed about Diane's willingness and ability to, when the moment came, step forward and present that testimony, including stating at the beginning something that's incredibly profound, powerful, challenging. And sometimes that's what's needed to get legislators to pay attention. So it's my pleasure to give Diane the Martha Healy Courage Award. Congratulations, Diane.
Diane, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Sheldon, for that wonderful introduction. And I'd like to thank Keep the Promise for recognizing me with the Martha Healy Courage Award. I just wanted to say thank you for bestowing the Martha Healy Courage Award. The day I testified before the Human Services Committee regarding the Senate Bill 283, an act eliminating income and asset limits for the MedConnect program for persons with disabilities, was a day I deeply delved into my reserves of courage. My anxiety was higher than usual that day because I feared that after revealing a lifelong struggle with depression and anxiety that I would be judged negatively and that my testimony would be dismissed. However, the opposite happened. Keep the Promise did not judge me negatively, nor did they dismiss my testimony. For decades, this organization has been a strong advocate for children and adults who live with mental illness, their families, mental health professionals, and other stakeholders to ensure that people with mental illness have access to quality community health care throughout their life. This group, also known as the coalition that goes where angels fear to tread, has recognized me for bravery. It almost feels like a seasoned Olympic marathon athlete has recognized me, someone who has just had a quick victory. However, this recognition of courage has gone a long way in replenishing my courage reserves and will help sustain me as I continue to pound the pavement like Martha Healy and her daughter Karen on the long road to victory, where those with mental illness have access to care and opportunities. As Karen would say, like everybody else. Once again, thank you so much for considering me and awarding me with the Martha Healy Courage Award.
Thank you so much, Diane. And I have to say, you made the comparison about Olympic athletes, but we are a team and this is a team effort. And KTP and our advocacy would be nothing without people who are doing exactly what you did and channeling that bravery, even though it's difficult to stand up there before the legislature and use your story, not just to tell it, but to make some sort of policy change. So I, thank you for your advocacy. And here is your award.
Oh.
I look forward to giving it to you. And again, this is the Martha Healy Courage Award for Diane Smith in recognition of your courageous and dedicated advocacy for SB 283 to eliminate the income and asset limits for the MedConnect program for persons with disabilities. Thank you so much, Diane.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And like I said, this next award is also an award that, I think there was a moment in the legislature where you could hear a pin drop, as Sheldon said. And this is another one of those moments. So I want to give the floor to Kathy Flaherty to present the Robert Davidson Award for Most Memorable Testimony.
Thank you again, Jordan. And I appreciate having the opportunity to present this year's award to Anthony Dias. Anthony was one of nearly 30 people who are currently residing in Whiting Forensic Hospital, because I think everybody was in Whiting. I'm not sure any people were in Connecticut Valley Hospital because the hospitals are separate now. Testified at the hearing on Senate Bill 450. Was another hearing on Zoom. I think it showed how technology opened up opportunities for people in institutions to participate in hearings in a way that never would have been possible before. And that happened through Demas and the Public Health Committee working cooperatively together to make sure that happened. If I had been paying more attention at the beginning of the hearing, when Representative Steinberg said the number of people on his list was something like 250, but the written list that was the speaker order had about 220 people on it, would have realized something is going on and I don't know what it is. And I didn't know how special it was going to be. I know I was sitting at home and every time I realized it was somebody inside the institutions testifying, I wrote down their names. And everybody inside shared something of value. But Anthony's testimony was very, very special. Anthony was down, I believe, in COVID isolation at the time that he testified. I have never in my life that I recall had legislators who I didn't even have a relationship with necessarily reaching out to me after that hearing to say, who is that person? They had such an impact on me. So Anthony, I am so glad you were able to be part of this meeting today, and to be here and to get recognition from the Keep the Promise Coalition for the most memorable testimony. If it wasn't for you and everybody else, that bill would never have passed in the form that it did. So congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you to Keep the Promise. All the other people who have lived experience. And I'd like to especially recognize somebody's insight. Holly Hackett on a phone call one day to me. I said, you know, the system has to be fixed. All the way up, from the top down, whatever. She said, no. The only way the system can be fixed is from the bottom up. It's from those of us who are receiving services to dictate to those that are way up in the sky, have nothing to do with us, don't even know my name, can't even hold my hand, can't even sit in the park with me, don't know I have a heart, don't know I would put my life on the line for the average person or the average group of people as an ex-Marine. They don't know that. All they know is lock them up. Throw away the key. From the bottom up, as Holly Hackett insisted insightfully, it has to be fixed. I appreciated the opportunity to speak in front of the legislatures, which I never did before. I appreciated the opportunity, but years of hearing people say, "Oh, we're gonna work on that. We're gonna try," and not seeing it be fruited, not seeing the fruit of it. Years have made me, very disappointed, to say the least, very disappointed. And at the same time, very determined to try to do something about it. Something's got to be done in the state of Connecticut. Hello. We're the only state where a court can say, Anthony Dash, you're going to be committed to the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services for a period not to exceed 25 years. And then have that very same court willfully extend its own time. I don't get it. That means a court can tell a lie. In my world, that's not supposed to ever happen for anybody, not just me, for anybody. If they say not to exceed 2 years, it should be not to exceed 2 years. Nobody should be able to exceed it. I'm sorry. So, with that in mind, if you're going to help people, you're going to say, we're a disabled class, and you're going to help me. I need to know I'm being helped, not punished, not punished on every little iota that happens. I trip and I bump into somebody, and by accident I say, oh, excuse me, and oh, no, you're gonna start all over again. You're gonna lose your level. That's not help. So my point is, if I fall and hurt myself, and somebody just so happens to see it and they say, oh my goodness, do you need help? Yeah, I can't move. Help me. And that person comes over and says, hey, let me call somebody for you and get the ambulance. I know I'm being helped. In mental health in the state of Connecticut, each and every single person who is part of this system, a consumer of this system, needs to know you're helping them, not hurting them, not looking for reasons to take away their privileges. Helping them. Help me. And I'm very, very happy to receive the Robert Davidson Award. It's the first time I ever spoke in front of any legislatures. And I don't, you know, in my naive sort of way, I've been looking and not seeing, oh, you know, oh, I understand, but not seeing the fruit. And I'm not saying that anybody here does not desire to see fruit from your efforts. I know you do. But I want to see fruit in the state of Connecticut that says we have a mental health system, not a mental harm system, not a mental warehousing system, a warehousing system. Hello. So my time was not to exceed 25 years. I am currently at 38 years. I now have a cancer diagnosis, which I just received chemotherapy and radiation for. I think this is important. I think it's important because that means in March 2010, when I was supposed to be released after 25 years, that was the maximum I could have got if I would have been straight up guilty for what I did. Straight up guilty, 25 years, that was the maximum. I'm 12 years beyond that. But I just got the cancer diagnosis. So for 12 years, I could have been out there living a life, producing the things that I produce, which are, you know, I could have been living for 12 years. But the courts insist on holding me. I don't get it. It's not about me. It's about our state, the state I was born in. I was born in New Haven, Connecticut. As a little kid, I was so proud. I was so proud to be born from New Haven. Now, I want to get out of the state of Connecticut because all they do is hurt me. I want to run. I want to leave. Not go AWOL, but legally leave. So how did that happen? We need to know we're being cared for. We need to have fruit that says, we care about you, we're concerned about you, we love you, and we want to support your recovery for real. Not for play, not on paper, in reality. And then meet the people that you rule over. These courts, they don't know nothing. All they go by is what the doctor said. The psychiatrists, they don't want to do nothing because they're afraid of what the PSRB says. My goodness, it's a big mess. Please help. Please be healthcare for real. I'm Anthony Dias. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anthony. And I have to say, it's been such a privilege of mine to get to know you over these past few months, starting from when I originally heard your testimony. And something that I've heard Kathy say before is that usually in a public hearing, you will get assigned a number, and that is when you will go. Sometimes that number can be very early on the list, and sometimes it could be late on the list. I think both Kathy and I happened to be pretty late on that list that day. And so we ended up testifying kind of late at night. But seeing you and everyone else at Whiting who was giving testimonies powerful testimonies about what this system has done to them and speaking truthfully about it. I have never been more happy to wait to testify in my life. And I'm stealing those words out of Kathy's mouth, but it rings true. And I think one of the things that I appreciate so much about you, Tony, is that whenever we talk, it is no nonsense and it's down to business, and you do not mince words. And that takes courage. And that is why you are the person who deserved this award the most by far. So I want to thank you for your testimony last year and for your continued advocacy. And I'm telling you, man, you know, we're going to keep going, right? So we'll talk again soon, but thank you so much, Tony. And Tony already has his award, so I don't have it in front of me to read off, but again, Robert Davidson Award for Most Memorable Testimony. And there it is. Okay. Next up, we have our Older Adult Voice Award. And I would actually like to invite William Acosta to present this award. William.
I have to say it gives me tremendous pleasure to present
William, I believe
this award.
You guys froze for a second. Can you start over?
Okay. It gives me tremendous pleasure to present this award to none other than Kat Parker. I don't know when I have personally met someone who is as vocal and as unabashedly just willing to get to the point. Doesn't need a lot of time to talk, but everything she says is right to the point, and it hits home with people who listen to her. She tells her story so eloquently. We are beyond proud that she is a member here at Bridge House, and she has been such a steering wheel here for our advocacy program. And beyond our walls here at Bridge House, she not only has galvanized members here at Bridge House, but has been an integral part of Keep the Promise way back since 2008. So it gives me tremendous pleasure. And I think it's, I can't think of a better person. Kat is getting along in years, as we both are, certainly. But you know, over the years, Kat has just adjusted her testimony, both not to her own situation, but to others around her. And all of us at Keep the Promise certainly have benefited from her tireless advocacy, and always looking to be on top of things and be a part of whatever is going on. So, Kat Parker, I congratulate you. We congratulate you as KTP for this Older Adult Award.
He leaves me speechless. I just want to thank Keep the Promise for always acknowledging and recognizing the efforts of all your advocates in all the areas, because it's so important, and sometimes it's really difficult, but we move forward because we have to. It's for the betterment of all of us. And personally, we speak for others who cannot speak for themselves, and we teach those who want to learn to speak for themselves. So it's an honor to be a part of KTP, part of advocacy. Advocacy, I call the fire in my belly that I just can't quench, because I have to keep doing it, and I have to keep trying to get better at it. So thank you for the acknowledgement.
Thank you so much, Kat. And I just have to add to that that between these two that you see on screen right now, what a powerhouse. This year, we probably, as a coalition, had been present for more public hearings or submitted testimony at more public hearings than ever before. And part of that has to be recognized what William and Kat have done with Bridge House. Bridge House submitted, I believe, over 30 testimonies this year from their members, and so much of that and helping people along was really done through this dynamic duo you see in front of you. So honestly, the both of you are just so awesome. So the Older Adult Voice Award for Kat Parker, in recognition of your outstanding and persistent advocacy for older adults living with mental health conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat. Okay. Next up, we're going to present our Youth and Young Adult Voice Award, one of two of these awards. And I'm going to give Holly the floor to present the first.
Thank you, Jordan. It is my absolute pleasure to present the award for Youth and Young Adult Voice Award to Manny Camacho. I met Manny at a town hall again, but this was a virtual town hall. He just amazed me with his presence. The way he spoke was just incredible. I can read off some of the organizations that Manny belongs to. He is a youth leader in New Haven Rising. He is youth president of Ice the Beef. He is president of Ice the Beef's Latino Caucus. He is leader of Ice the Beef's mental health branch. He is associated with Black Lives Matter in New Haven People Center, and Citywide Youth Coalition. This year in particular, Manny organized the walkout in the New Haven school system to highlight the need for mental health services in schools. He gets and understands that there is more mental health necessary than security resource officers or SROs. He organized a mental health fair to reduce the stigma in the community. He began a mental health branch of Ice the Beef. And there's something that not too many people know about Manny. He goes to all of the instances of youth-involved fatal gun violence across Connecticut, not just in New Haven. And he goes just to see what he can do to help the youth affected in the community. Now, you guys heard all of the organizations that he belongs to and all that he does to help with mental health in the state of Connecticut. He is only 17 years old. He has to finish his senior year in high school, and he's not going to be 18 until December 27th. He has accomplished so much at such a young age. Manny has never asked to be recognized for any of the things that he does or continues to do. He just does them. He does them because it's the right thing to do, and he does enjoy helping people. I do feel like a proud mom sometimes when I talk about him. It's funny. He, in my opinion, is the kind of youth we should have more of, but I wish there were just more people in the world like Manny. And I truly believe if he wants to, he will one day be president of the United States. Manny, I present you with this award.
Thank you so much, Holly. Good afternoon, or almost afternoon, to you all. It is my absolute honor and pleasure of a lifetime to be here, gathered amongst you, and to receive this award. I want to thank Holly from the most inner depths of my heart for her kind words and the recognition. As Holly said, I do the work that I have done simply because I care, simply because I want to see the best for everyone, anyone, and anywhere. I tell everyone that I live my life by two simple quotes. The first is, if not us, who? If not now, when? And the second is by Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent on the things that matter. And so with those two quotes, I dedicate every day that I am granted the ability to wake up, to not waste it, but to help someone in some way. And it is all I have ever done, all that I want to do. And I will continue doing it for as long as I can. But I just want to give a sincere thanks to Holly, to everyone else gathered here, for all the amazing other awardees. And I'm most excited and filled with the most gratitude that there are so many like-minded people gathered here today. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Manny. And because your camera's not on, I wasn't able to spotlight you. So I apologize that you won't appear on the video, but I will, just so you can see your award. Youth and Young Adult Voice Award, Manuel Camacho, in recognition of your strong voice, action, and leadership for youth and young adult mental health. And I do want to add to that, and I might embarrass Holly a little bit here, but she has told me so many times that you are such a role model, despite being younger than me and younger than her and younger than most people in this room. You are really doing tremendous work. So keep it up, man. All right. So thank you so much. The next award is going to be the second of the two Youth and Young Adult Voice Awards. And I will be presenting this one to Emily Ball. I believe that it was Doris who nominated Emily. And while Doris can't be here today, she did give me Emily's bio to read, which I think is worth reading just so everyone can understand just how powerful of an advocate Emily is. Emily has a long and distinguished history with self-advocacy and mental health issues. Since joining CT CASA, Kids as Self-Advocates, at age 13, she's gone on to earn her associate's degree as a disability specialist from Manchester Community College, to her current positions with Parents Available to Help and Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, where she serves as youth outreach and transition coordinator. Along her journey, Emily has touched many lives with her spirited commitment to share the importance of self-advocacy for people with disabilities, whether physical or mental health related. The list of her accomplishments is wide and varied. She has completed the Partners in Policymaking program, interned with the UConn USED, which is the University of Connecticut Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, and the LEND program, Leadership, Education, and Neurodevelopmental Disabilities. Emily was on the board of the National Youth as Self-Advocates for several years. She has also completed training with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and participated in numerous transition symposiums, spoken at the NTACT, National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, annual conference. Throughout all of her activities, Emily's strength is her ability to relate to her challenges of living with multiple disabilities to help enhance the lives of others, from kindergartners, teenagers, and even medical students. And by the way, in her spare time, Emily enjoys her 2 cats, 2 dogs, attending concerts, horseback riding, and water skiing, which is just awesome. I also personally want to add that just as sort of a testimony to how dedicated and tremendous of an advocate Emily is, she helped us so much this summer when we were working on making things plain language for our trainings. And the fact that she volunteered our time to make sure that our trainings and webinars could be useful for everyone is just such a strong testament to her dedication and persistence as an advocate, and how dedicated she is to making sure that things can be accessible for everyone. So thank you so much, Emily. And I'm going to pin you and give you the chance to say some words as well.
I'm very appreciative of the chance to have this award. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Looking forward to delivering it to you. And the award says Youth and Young Adult Voice Award for Emily Ball, in recognition of your strong voice, action, and leadership for youth and young adult mental health.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. So we've actually reached our final award this morning, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award. And while I would certainly love to introduce this person, I think it's much more fitting that Kat Parker does. So I will pull you up in a second, Kat.
Okay, quiet in the house.
Here you are. Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna read my nomination so I don't fumble on my words. This year I nominated William Acosta for this Lifetime Achievement Award. Before I get into his extensive and impressive credentials working in the social service field with people who have mental health and addiction conditions for almost 40 years, I first want to put into perspective the very human nature of a truly wonderful person. I first came to Bridge House in 2008. I immediately chose William to be my case manager. I knew right away that he was truly someone special. His kind, gentle, and sincere, caring manner was not anything I had ever received before, that I have ever received before from any social service agency or provider. He noticed something in me that no one else had ever seen in me, not even myself, my ability to advocate effectively. It was then that he introduced me to KTP, and it was then that I took my very first legislative advocacy training. Over the many years that William worked for Bridge House, he has mentored many of our members, introducing them not only to advocacy, but also to KTP. Year after year, he works diligently and compassionately to help both staff and members find their voices. I have had the great honor and privilege to work alongside him to help and encourage our members and staff not only to testify during the legislative session, but also to register to vote, find their voting locations, know who their legislators are, and to be aware of what their legislators are running for or against. In 1984, William first began in the field at Family Services Woodfield, which later became LifeBridge. Later that year, he started his career at the Greater Bridgeport Mental Health, which merged in 1992 with the Connecticut Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission, creating DEMIS. He continued his work there until 2003. William came to Bridge House in 2006 and continues until this very day in 2022. He serves as the Housing and Advocacy Coordinator, a position he has held honorably for many years. William has also served on the Board of Directors for the Disability Resource Center of Fairfield County from 2009 through 2014. William has been on the Coordinating Council for KTP since 2012 and served as Vice Chair in 2018 and 2019. I firmly believe that I could not have been the advocate that I am today without his influence and nurturing that he so generously showered upon me right from the beginning. It's an honor to present this award to you in nomination.
My goodness, how do you follow that? Thank you, Kat, for the nomination. Thank you, Bridge House, certainly. Want to thank our executive director, Mary Ellen McGuire, who's just off camera here, and our program director, Maureen Kuda, who have been gracious enough to provide that flexibility that's needed, because those of us who do clubhouse work know that it can be taxing, it can be time consuming, because our members come first. And so that segues me into how this would not be possible if it weren't for the hard work that members do. There is no way that one individual can take credit for all of the work that we all do together here at Bridge House and beyond our walls, for all of us advocates here at Keep the Promise that work every day, day in and day out, in all kinds of work. It's like we're all one body and everybody plays a significant part to make that body keep moving. So everyone, and Keep the Promise, right from Jan Van Tassel and Sheila Amdur to now, to you, Jordan and Holly and Marcia and Doris, who have just worked over the years, just tirelessly, indefatigably, to make sure that our legislators know who we are, that they know what our asks have been over the years and continue to be and will continue to be as we move forward. So I just want to say thank you for this award. I love each and every one of you. And I look forward to subsequent future Lifetime Achievement Award recipients, because each and every one of us really is a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, because this work is never ending. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, William. And you know, I think that in this Zoom room here, I'm surrounded by giants in sort of the history of mental health advocacy in Connecticut, and certainly I think a big part of why this award is so well deserved is because you've helped cultivate that culture of advocacy, not only at Bridge House, also at KTP and in every other room that you step into. So it is so well deserved. And we're happy to present you with the Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of your lifelong commitment to advocacy and action for Connecticut's mental health. So congratulations, and congratulations to all of our other awardees this morning. We are coming up on the close of our award ceremony, so I do want to just give it to our coalition co-chair, Marcia DeFore, who has some closing remarks just to end the morning.
Thank you, Jordan. So what an array of strong advocates. And I think the word giant is definitely a good word to talk about with all of our strong advocates that we were able to honor today. I hope you notice that most of them are people in recovery, just like yourself, who were impacted by a policy or an issue, whether it was improving quality and access to services or supports or housing or benefits. We really hope that you've been inspired by them and are encouraged to follow in their footsteps if you've not taken the step, some of the steps that they've taken to advocate. Last year was a short legislative session and it just seemed to fly by. We will have many more opportunities to speak up during the coming year, and we hope that you'll be actively involved in helping us to select our legislative priorities, to speak up about the issues that are most important to you, to advocate persistently, just like the people that you've seen being honored here today. We need your voices, we need your efforts. We are here to support you. So as we close today, know this is just the beginning of a new year and new efforts to get our message across. Most importantly, what we want our legislators and policymakers to keep their promise for high quality and equitable recovery-oriented services and support, and a system that promotes wellness and full integration for people with disabilities in our local communities. We thank you so much for spending the morning with us, and we want you to have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, and keep the promise.
Thank you so much, Marcia, and thank you everyone for attending today. This was really fantastic, and I loved hearing from each and every one of you that was presenting or honored today, and you have all done such tremendous work. So thank you, Marcia, for closing us out, and we'll see you all again next month for a monthly meeting and during the legislative session, right? That's coming right up. So I guess it's back to work for the rest of us. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
And thank you to our interpreters.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.